Morning, everybody. How are you doing? Leo Naranjo IV here, candidate for governor in the 2026 election race. Good day, each and every one of you. Today is the 14th of April, 2026. Whew. What a long drive from San Diego. That's like 8 hours without traffic. And me and my family hit some on the way home just last night. Rolled in about 10. There is so much to say about that convention. Oh my gosh. There is so much to say what happened after that convention. Oh my gosh, there too. There's a lot of input and noise being made shortly after the delegates voted on who not to endorse, and some of the turmoil that surrounded that nonsense. Very, very interesting, a little embarrassing for Corinne Rankin and crew. You should have a set of rules, but it seems that you make them up along the way as your process goes forward, which is kind of sad. Too much drama from the floor. Somebody contested the count of the first go-around for treasurer, and it was a 2% difference, and then they had a recount, and the treasurer race excelled. 5 more points went up in favor of the candidate they finally endorsed. 5 went down for the candidate who thought he was going to get it. And then he and his crew decided to stage some protests, challenging the count, challenging the process of even getting to the count, challenging those that were making noise about how to proceed with the voting. And they got shot down by, of all people, Corinne Rankin, Mr. Serpa's go-to gal, didn't go to him as she went with Mr. Strickland and the party. And what's most telling is what happens after you have voting and after the game is how people react. Well, I'll give Chad this, even though it might have looked a little disingenuous, probably wasn't. He at least thanked the delegates for those who supported him. Congratulations, Mr. Bianco. That's what you do at the end of a contest, is you shake hands with your opponent. It's called sportsmanship. For those of you that think I'm full of shit, then you better start looking at NFL games, basketball games, softball games, your children's Little League games, and every other sport you've ever attended, if you can remember that far back. That's what we do. That's what we did. We shook hands before the contest. We played to the best of our abilities. The best team won, and we shook our hands at the end of the contest. This is no different. Chad Bianco, at least he came out and said, thank you for your support for the delegates who voted for him. Did he get the nomination? No, he wasn't going to get the nomination. I believe he was going to, yes. In my personal and professional, political, humble opinion, I strongly believe, look at my calendar, that on the 28th of March, he was set. Yes, no, take that back. On the 4th of April, I strongly believe he was set to walk away with the nomination for governorship from the California State GOP. I fully believe that. All the indicators were there. All the tilts were there. All the noise from counties around California was there. That man was going to be endorsed by the California GOP on the 4th of April. If they had taken that vote, Chad Bianco would have got it. But something happened. You could almost call it providence. You can call it fate. You can call it the devil. I feel God put his hand in the mix because events quickly spiraled out of control with the following. Steve Hilton And you could tell online that there was some slippage there in the momentum. Even his shrill, paid-for shriekers, social influencers, whatever you want to call them, the Mike Netters, the Kira Davises, the Lori Mills, the Amy from San Diego's, just to name a few, there seemed to be a difference in their explanations and their encouragement. Even Hilton looked like he was slipping. And on Saturday, the 4th of April, he literally begged for presidential input to get an endorsement. And lo and behold, on the 5th of April, the very next day, he got that endorsement from Trump. And right there, it's like taking a huge dump in the middle of the church pews. Whoa, you just instilled a game changer and don't even realize the game that you have just changed. Because that following Monday, on April the 5th, Mr. Hilton lost his damn mind and spread it to the world, far and wide. He was endorsed by Donald Trump. And momentum shifted. No longer were we about to see the coronation of Chad Bianco to be the GOP selectee for this race. Suddenly, there was a problem. And it was a problem that I announced to friends and a few associates. That endorsement, that begging by Hilton to acquire that endorsement, the man is arrogant enough to actually think that was going to help him, effed him in the process. You put the party in a particular situation because you begged, and I wouldn't be surprised. I don't believe you called President Trump. I believe you had some surrogates call for you. I believe you leaned into your paid performance actors and your friends and associates, and you called favors. And Donald Trump gave you one. If it's anything like Tony Strickland, he only threw this at you because you're a Fox News former host, and that's why you got what you got. In the Tony Strickland aspect, Tony Strickland doesn't care if Steve Hilton is pro-life, pro-choice. Right now, Steve Hilton is pro-choice. He's actually for abortion. He feels he's part of the 57% that wants abortion, with exceptions. But he still wants abortion. Tony Strickland is an anti-abortion guy, but he doesn't care. He's going to vote Steve Hilton regardless. Something's happening in the background when rich people make stances that defy logic. So moving on from that, Bianco's losing his mind, or Hilton's losing his mind. Oh, I got endorsed by President Trump. All of y'all bow to me. I got endorsed by President Trump. My name's Steve Hilton. I'm for Fox News. And now you have to vote for me. You have to endorse me. You have to do what I want you to do because I bought and paid for this. You can see it swirling all over the place, but the cracks and the fissures were evident. And I only say that because of my former military training that taught us to question deep beyond what you see. And what I saw was Hilton making noise, flooding the airwaves, that I've got a brand new toy. I've got the endorsement of the President of the United States. Not just anybody. I've got the endorsement of the President. Now, all of a sudden, you have expectations of what the party should do here in California. And I quickly stated to friends and associates, that was a pill that is poisoned. If you had MAGA supporters, and they were deep embedded MAGA supporters, you have now frosted them. They're gonna be pissed. What the hell is the president doing? Heard some of that at the convention. What the hell was the president thinking? Heard some of that at the convention too. We'll never vote a Brit into office. Heard that at the convention. Oh my God. People are not aligning with Trump. But clearly, notice, ladies and gentlemen, I said people are not aligning with Trump. Hilton doesn't care about people aligning with Trump. His rant and rhetoric all the week of the first week of April was, I got endorsed by President Trump. I've been endorsed by President Trump. The only endorsement that matters is the one by President Trump. My guy. Now, if you look on the surface because you don't really get into this mess, and the only reason why I'm deeply into it is because I'm running for office and notice stuff like this. On the surface, Steve Hilton got endorsed by President Trump. Let me reiterate. Oh, I got endorsed by President Trump. Oh, I'm going to defeat the 16 years of Democratic control because I got endorsed by President Trump. And my name is Steve Hilton. And you're going to endorse me because President Trump endorsed me. And you have to endorse me because President Trump endorsed me. Don't worry about my past. Don't worry about my wife. Don't worry about my history. Don't worry about that little fuck with the mustache who's talking shit about me online or even in public. Don't worry about that little twit. I'm Steve Hilton. I'm from Fox News, and you're going to vote for me because I got the nominational nod, the endorsement nod from President Trump. That's all he ranted and raved about for a freaking week to ad nauseum. Leo, why are you looking like that? Americans are great. We got a great history, don't we? We have a wonderful history. Little bitty mindset. What do I mean by that? Very small memory banks. We forget way too easily, folks. Memories. Short time frame memory. Boom! Shit, if anybody didn't know any better, pardon my French, we'd all fit Alzheimer victimhood. Nobody looked around Steve Hilton. Nobody looked past Steve Hilton. Nobody looked and listened to what he said and discounted the obvious to see everything behind the rhetoric. Like that guy behind the curtain in The Wizard of Oz. You know, that one. Where was Carl DeMaio, his best buddy, his friend, his mentor, his big supporter? Where's Carl DeMaio? Carl DeMaio helps me out all the time. Carl DeMaio's reformed California, and he reformed California by putting somebody up there in the treasurer spot to piss off David Serpa. Too funny. And Carl DeMaio is my guy who helps me out because he's Carl DeMaio, and I'm Steve Hilton, I'm for Fox News, and we're going to win this and beat the Democrats. Where was Carl DeMaio, Steve Hilton's friend? For 1 week, you heard nothing from Carl DeMaio. Not a peep, not a sound, no congratulatory post, no Reform California statement, zero from Carl DeMaio that I found. Hell, Carl DeMaio didn't even come down to the freaking convention. Wonder why? What was the reason? This was a big moment for Steve Hilton. A GOP statewide convention in San Diego, the bedrock of a lot of rich and famous people down here, because a lot of rich and famous people seem to show up. Probably why they had it down here. Probably why him and Bianco supported the GOP convention in San Diego, but I digress. Carl DeMaio did not come down to San Diego to celebrate and support his bestest buddy, Steve Hilton's endorsement from the president, and potentially pending endorsement from this party. Where was he? Tangipa was around. Oh, yeah, the youngster, the big tall guy, the one that hangs with Carl DeMaio. The one that seems to be always with Carl DeMaio. Let that one on its own. He endorsed Steve Hilton. So what? Congratulations, Mr. Tangipa, for endorsing Steve Hilton. I'm sure Steve is very proud. But where was Carl? Steve Hilton got endorsed by the president. Steve Hilton, I'm Steve Hilton. I got endorsed by the president of the United States of America, and you didn't, and you got to support me because he did, and therefore you will. I know 99.99% of his cabinets. Hell, we've been friends since like forever, at least for the last 10, 15, 20 minutes since I've heard about him. Where are President Trump cabinet endorsements for Steve Hilton? They're not there. Where are all the Republicans across the Senate and congressional caucuses throughout this country supporting Steve Hilton? They're not there. Where is the mass? Let me take that back. Let's be a little realistic. Where is the finite, itty-bitty amount of Republicans from our own state legislative office and assembly caucuses? Where are their en masse endorsement of Steve Hilton? It's not there. Ladies and gentlemen, he is not there being endorsed by everybody under the sun that he knows. Think about it. And so now we come to the moment of truth. 1 week of bombarding. Oh, I'm Steve Hilton. I'm for Fox News, and you got to pay for me. You got to support me because I paid for these people to support me. That's why they're going to be here. I paid for people to be present. I've paid for socialists. Excuse me. That socialist is no longer in your camp. I've paid for influencers, as we call them, as you call them, people who put noise out there online. I paid for them to be here at the convention because I want them to support me too. I've paid for a lot of support for people to support me. I'm Steve Hilton. I'm from Fox News. Don't worry about anything else. We're going to defeat the Democrats, and we're going to give you frozen gas at $3 no matter where it goes. And I'm going to remove $100,000 from your taxes because I know I can't do it, but you're too stupid to realize it, and so we're going to get it passed because I'm suckering you with the bright, shiny object. And oh, by the way, President Trump endorsed me, and you have to. Now we come to the moment of truth. And I stated early and stated throughout the convention. 4 things are going to happen. You're going to vote for me and make it the safe pull, which didn't occur. You're going to vote for Steve Hilton because President Trump voted for Steve Hilton. And if you follow President Trump legally, blindly, and anything else you want to use for that verbiage, you want to be 1,000% behind Trump like Hilton is, you should have voted for Steve Hilton. The problem is, and would have been, as soon as you did that, as soon as you went balls to the wall behind Trump for Hilton and blindly like the lemmings, flowed off of the cliff into oblivion, you would have lost, in my estimation, 25%, if not more, of the MAGA vote. Maybe less, depending on how many are left in the state after the mass exodus. But a soft figure tells me you would have lost 25% of your vote endorsing Steve Hilton. The third option, fuck you, Trump. Pardon my French. Fuck you, Trump. You were going to endorse Chad Bianco. First time I've used gestures, highlighting a point, because that's what you would have passed to the president if you had endorsed Chad Bianco. Because the president endorsed Steve Hilton. And with that endorsement, you endorsing Chad Bianco would have defied the RNC, the Republican National Committee. And I stated that very clearly as well. You can go ahead and endorse Chad, and you're going to piss off the already pissed off RNC of California. Again, for those who don't wish to believe it, you don't have to, but it's been spoken about for years. And I'm pretty sure if I've heard it, somebody out there has too, because you've told me. Forces outside of California do not care about our state. They could care less what's happening to it, in it, or for it. Their view is to let this mother burn, just like the song says, turn this mother out. They would like to see California implode under its own weight of stupidity. They're not interested in what happens to the people in the state. They just want to see the Democratic Party and California devolve into sheer and utter chaos of self-destruction. One big reason why I stepped into this race. Or another one. So if you would have endorsed Chad Bianco, you would have stuck a finger to Donald Trump you pretty much would have stood up as a anti-Trump, never Trumper group. And Donald Trump already has a few political people that he does not like. And look what's happening to them. And now you would have brought that wrath onto the state of California in many, many ways that none of you delegates would really care, because it won't affect you directly, much less personally. It'll only affect you indirectly. But so what? You're wealthy enough to suck up the blows. The state might not. The people in the state might not, but you will be okay as you tear apart this state. And the last option was a vote of no confidence, no delegate support, no endorsement vote. 75 of you clicked that little button and did just that. Only 75. And ladies and gentlemen, let's not make any contentional storylines about this in this particular nuance. There were only 1,129 delegates voting. Okay? 1,129. There were 1,511 delegates listed. What the hell happened to the other 300? Where did they go? Were they really delegates? But they weren't present. That was a near 300-point shift downward in the delegates who were present count. Almost 400. From 1,511 to 1,129. That's near 380 some odd delegates missing. Now, at the 1,511 count, you needed 60% to get a nomination. That means your vote count had to be no less than 908 ballots cast by delegates. Lo and behold, that altered with the losing of nearly 400 people. Now, you only have 1,129 delegates. 60% of that dropped the threshold to clear a nomination. Now you only need about 608 votes. Oh my. Are we trying to sauce up the numbers? Because that's what it looks like from my perspective. You drop the standard to elevate who you selected in order to get past you, the voter. Can't tell me otherwise. The numbers speak, the numbers speak, the numbers speak. The numbers are the numbers. So now you only need 608 votes to get a nomination. Who did we make it easier for, Hilton, Bianco, or both? And because of the fiasco with the Treasury vote, we instilled a new rule. If you get within 2% of the endorsement figure of 60%, you can challenge and demand a recount. Another mechanism inserted at the last minute to alter an outcome. But in this case, there was no opportunity to exercise that option because the vote fell horrifically shy of anything resembling 58% of the count. Each candidate got around 460 rounded up. Bianco, 480, 490. I'll look at the numbers shortly. Hilton, about 420, 440, somewhere in there. 42 and 44% respectively is what they got of those delegates that cast ballots. Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, 129 delegates from the 1,129 person pool did not cast a ballot for governorship. 0. They chose not to vote. That's a percentage. And whether you believe it or not, this was the old adage I was always taught about politics. For every one person, there are 10 just like you out there. And do the math as it spreads. Shortly after the vote, here comes the outpouring of, let's see how candidates react to pros and cons. I just reported what transpired. I wasn't even on the ballot, so for me, it was a no-brainer anyway. I thought that was disrespectful. I thought it was ass backwards, but that's just my opinion. I only had 10 electorate votes anyway. But in the greater scheme of life, Leo Zaki had 104 electoral votes. Let me take Steve Hilton, since he's the one who got endorsed, as the primary example of this point, to be driven home to the so-called rich and famous who discount everybody who's not rich and famous. Your happy ass is lost for Steve Hilton because of your arrogance. Steve Hilton's got somewhere in the vicinity of 440 some odd ballots. He needed about 608. If Steve Hilton's side had courted Leo Zaki, if Leo Zaki had been there to be influential as a factor, Leo Zaki's 104 votes could have shifted over to Steve Hilton. That would have given him 604. You need 608. See what I'm getting at? Little old me, the insignificant candidate with only 10 delegate votes. There you go. Do the math. You had the potential of getting 614 ballots for you. You pissed them away because you were arrogant. Then you compound the issue by stepping out of the tent 2 hours later, not shortly thereafter, 2 hours later, to recover your hurt feelings, because I know they were hurt. You had a temper tantrum when Gino Gavin Newsom refused to allow you on his podcast to be interviewed. You pissed about that one. And so I think that this is the same thing. You pissed about this one too. You came out and you said, Steve, now is the time we need to coalesce around one candidate and the real endorsement that matters. The only endorsement that matters. Wow. The only endorsement that matters is the only one that you got that has any prominence, which is the one from the President of the United States of America. So if that was the only endorsement that matters, why the hell were you at San Diego GOP Convention this weekend? You didn't say, thank you to my supporters. Thank you for those that cast a ballot my direction. Let's go out and kick some ass and take some names. No. You said it's time to coalesce around the leading candidate, which is me. Propped yourself up. And to coalesce behind the only endorsement that matters, which was the one you got from the president somehow. Now, in basic language for you sensitive types, plug your ears, because this is going to be the blunt and truthful of what happened with that declaration. Are you good? Are you good? Your ears plugged? Okay. In saying what Steve Hilton did, he basically just shitted on the entirety of the GOP establishment in California. Fuck you, is basically what he said. I got the endorsement for President Trump. Your asses were supposed to endorse me. What the fuck are you people doing? You sound like that little fuck with the glasses, the military guy. What's his name? Hell, I can't even pronounce it. Quick, give me somebody I can buy that can help me pronounce that little fuck's name. The Leo guy. No, not the Zaki one, not that one. The better looking Leo. Yeah, that one, the orange tree guy. That's what you said, Steve. You basically said F you to the entirety of the GOP establishment because the only endorsement that matters to you is the one from the president, which kind of belies why you were down in San Diego seeking the GOP endorsement. If it never mattered, because you only have the one that matters. Isn't that humorous? Wow. And you're out here again, still plying, still perpetrating that you have the only endorsement that matters. Steve Hilton, you just shite. Shite or shot. I'll say the one because that's what we say over there in England. Shite or shot. You just shit on the GOP, the people in the GOP, the state of California. You just crapped on everybody with that arrogant pronouncement 2 hours after your ass got handed to you at an endorsement convention in San Diego by the state-led GOP. Attention, Miss Cora Rankin. They could not help you. Your cash did not help you. Your influencers, your bought and paid for shrills and shriekers could not help you. It's what I've been saying all along. You have to be a forthright, upfront, straight to the point, direct, honest candidate. And you are anything but. You have to believe in what you say with conviction to get others to believe where you're going. You do not do that for people. You read off scripts. You read off well-prepared commentaries. You have a great fine line talking point, but when you get nailed down, you squirm like a snake or a slug that's caught. You don't want to answer a question because you can't answer questions. All you give are statements. But you have no definition. I've got a plan. I've got a plan. Everything is about a plan. You don't need to know what the plan is. Hell, that sounds like Nancy Pelosi to me. Oops. Change voice. That sounds like Nancy Pelosi to me. We don't know what the hell you're going to do to California. I guess we have to elect you to find out. What the hell kind of plan is that? I've told you my plan. You go to my website, it's right there. I've told you in every forum I've attended with you how I'm going to address the woes of California. It's right there. The biggest one was when we stood opposite each other on the stage at Pac Nixon in Yorba Linda, and I directly told you how I was going to handle the unions and the problem with the public pension union plans. Your solution was to amend the Constitution, though it might be illegal, and to get California to declare bankruptcy. That's your plan, Schlick? To declare California bankrupt? That's your plan? No one at that convention, unless you've been in those forums, unless you've been blinded, unless you were complete ignoramus, no one who was at any forum that you and I attended could not tell me they did not see a difference between us as candidates. And the only thing that separates you from me, sir, is you're rich, you're famous, and the media bought and paid for your happy ass is pushing you for some ungodly reason to the forefront. And the party is embracing you for that same reason. But we know why the party's doing it. They looked at you as a cash cow. I saw Mark Wright before I left out of that hotel this past weekend, sitting there in somber thought looking out across the bay. And you should, sir, be looking, and I'm wondering what's going through your mind. You described Mr. Hilton and Mr. Bianco perfectly. They were never made and they were never meant to win this race. They were meant to acquire ticket sales for central committees to raise money. That's all they were about. And here we are. Mark Wright, Central Committee chairperson of El Dorado, Placer County, I believe. What he described as regional director of Northern California, one of them. Did that man lie? Oh, I wish you would say that about me. God, I wish you would say that about me, because then I will go and dig out the previously blocked podcast that you made that statement on, unless those people delete it before I get to it. And you shocked a lot of people in that chat room when you made that statement. And it wasn't an offhand, colorless statement. You said it with conviction as if you were convinced. And it was believable because of who you are. And it's been believable because when you when you attacked me, when I called you up to see if I could even get considered to speak at the convention, you made it very clear to me your delegates would never vote in my general direction. Ha ha! I got 5 of them, sir. 5 people out of your delegation voted for me to give me the opportunity to speak at the convention. Ass backward method, but okay. You let a socialist speak, but you wouldn't let an honored retired veteran speak. Well, that kind of speaks volumes there, too. Well, the game was, Leo, you had to have 200 votes. You had to have 200 votes. You should have allowed every candidate that showed up there to pay their way, to pay to be on the ballot speak, and let the delegates decide after the speeches. And you could have curved it down. How if you had 10 delegates in only an hour, then each one only gets about 5 or 10 minutes to speak. But you didn't even do that with your ass backwards rules. You blocked a candidate who's a socialist from speaking, and then you reversed yourself to allow him to do just that after putting out a rule saying that nationalists, white supremacists, anti-Semites couldn't talk, and then you allowed them to talk. That's why the party has the reputation that it has. And earlier today, I saw somebody making a commentary. Oh my God, do you people know who Tiffany Hainyard is? If you don't, look up the melodrama that surrounded Dalton, Illinois about 3 to 4 years ago. Somehow, that woman raped a city and neighboring counties of millions of dollars, and no one lifted a finger to do anything to stop her. The population there could not stop her. She literally was a Gavin Newsom ran amok at a lower level. Now I hear she's in Georgia, Fulton County, trying to run for office down there. Musical chairs, folks. I stated this long ago when Miss Hainyard was talking about traveling the country, that if I were elected and her happy ass ever set foot in California, she'd be arrested immediately and shipped back to the state where she came from. That's not a campaign promise or campaign guarantee. That's going to be fact when it happens. So here we are today. People are wondering what's going to happen next. The ballots are getting ready to go out. Early voting commences very soon. Yeah, it does. And people down there at the convention finally got to get together to sit opposite each other and maybe exchange some notes on what candidates have been saying. But as I just wrote back to Mr. Nehring, who posted so eloquently about our chances in this race, period, my commentary was this: no matter how good your candidate is, no matter what he says, if he hits all the right buttons for you, the voters, this is the problem. When you're in a room with the lights off, no crowd, no audience, no one to hear, what difference does it make? You are effed. And you've excluded that individual from letting the voters decide if that was a worthy candidate or a useless candidate. And I've challenged anybody. First 30 seconds, you're going to know if I'm full of ish or if I'm a realistic person. And for every forum that I've attended, for every social event that I was able to go to, in the first 30 seconds, that has been disproven time and time again. I've not been looked at or discounted as a useless, why is he even here type of a candidate. My faith and conviction in Jesus is no less than my faith and conviction in what I believe in when I speak to the public. I'm not here to make nice with folks who are seeking public office to be appointed to based on who's the governor. I'm not seeking to enhance the rich, help themselves get richer at taxpayer expense. I'm here to do a freaking job, folks. The one that you would put me in if I was elected, and that's to fix California. First and foremost, for the citizens of this state. Not one other candidate has made that statement or declaration when asked why they're running. Combat veteran. I was a Marine combat veteran. Dude, you sided with the enemy. You felt more kinship with the enemy. Your own statements. You did one tour as a Marine. You were a PFC machine gunner. Let's not hype that you were an Audie Murphy type. You served one tour and it seemed to be in combat. Congratulations. Thank you very much for your service. What happened? You turned socialist. I don't know where it started from, whether it was in service, before service, it's always been like that, but you, sir, are a self-declared socialist. And as I told you then, I would have drummed your ass out of the service had I been your squad leader in the Marine Corps. Thankfully, I wasn't, and you got away with it. I'm going to crunch some numbers and come back and give you the percentages of what this looks like and what we face. People are really proud to tell me what I should have ran for based on what they wanted to see. They're really happy to point out to me that, Leo, you could never realistically win. Leo, you don't have what it takes. Leo, you don't have this. Leo, you don't have that. Please, 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 please explain to me then how Hilton and Bianco did not get an endorsement. After all, they had all the things you say I didn't. They had all the things going for them you say I don't have. They have the room, the lights, the audience, the floor, the podium, and they still did not get an endorsement. So for you folks who think you know everything, arrogant enough to brag that you do, and arrogant enough to discount anybody who steps up to you and says a different opinion to where you look at them as if they're lucky to be alive, breathing the air you breathe, you better wake up and catch the clue, because when I post the numbers, I'm going to ask you that same question again. And since you like to throw it in my face as fact, you're not going to win. Well, neither are you, as soon as I crunch these numbers and prove it. But that's still all assumptions. We won't know until the election is over with who was right or who was wrong. Swalwell suspended a campaign. His name's still on the ballot. His campaign may be over with, but already you got the pundits saying the numbers have adjusted upwards for the Democrats. Somebody pointed out that doctors are pissed off at Newsom. They're now pissed off at the wealth tax. They're now streaming over to the Republicans. Don't get that twisted, ladies and gentlemen. One Democrat candidate stands up there and boldly says he's not going to allow that tax to go forth. Those same doctors that are jumping over here will now jump back over there and vote D, because that's what they historically have been doing. Another person on a podcast vote, the one with Tiffany Henyard, pointed out very, very articulately the following. Democrats not able to win in their own districts are floating into the R side of the argument to run as Republicans in areas where Republicans don't seem to do well, or they don't even try, to win office to continue with their democratic ways. We've been so infiltrated now, we don't know what the hell we are. Republicans, rhinos, Democrats with an R behind their status. That's another thing that's been spoken about at the convention. We're not even a Republican Party. We're referred to as the Uniparty. Newsom refers to us as the party of constant and professional losers. Well, shit, you keep proving it to them. And then you get somebody that has the balls, the gumption, and the gusto to go forward with something different. And the first thing that you folks do is panic. You panic because I'm not rich enough to hang with you. Is that what the public wants? They want a rich person to hang with? No, they want somebody to fix the freaking state. Well, you're not rich. You're not famous. There's no way you could win. If your asses got behind me, I could. But you're not going to put us into the appointed positions. If you suck, you probably aren't going to get appointed. But I gave Hilton $25,000. That's why I'm selected to run for treasurer. Who is that? Rumor is that's Miss Hawks. I digress. My name is Leo Naranjo IV. Still a candidate, still on the ballot, still here making the noise that I make, to putting it to the point of, folks, you do have an option. And it'll be coming out soon for you to not be disparaged. You can still vote for a Republican. and clear your conscience while doing it. Leo Naranjo, the number 4, GOV.com. Please go to my website, look over what's there, write back to me, ask the questions, put me to the test. Hell, invite me down, tell your friends, your neighbors, your loved ones, tell your enemies as well. There is somebody here, and he's ready to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum. Why are these people afraid to put me against their contestants, their supposedly hotshot persons? Because they don't like to lose and be bested by somebody who's not one of them. It's been proven. Deeds, not words. If anything, the Pat Nixon Yorba Linda Forum, the closest coming down into Hilton territory, no less, proved that man cannot take me on a stage, and that I can best him on any stage, anywhere, at any time, just like Bianco. Gentleman up here posted just a little while ago, he has seen too many good candidates get kicked aside for the party choosing the wrong people to run for office. Well, sir, I posted to you on X already. You're about to see that very thing happen. A good candidate is pushed aside for the wrong people, and we as a state are getting ready to suffer for it. My name is Leo Naranjo IV, candidate for governor. I'll have your numbers out here shortly. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.